Hello, my name is Richard. Welcome back to Over and Over and Over Again. This is the top 5 best and worst of our FA Cup third round matches. Hello, my name is Richard. Welcome back to the channel Over and Over and Over Again. In this video, we are going to look at the top 5 best and worst FA Cup third round matches that Arsenal have been involved in their history. There's some great memories and some not so great memories in this list. If that sounds like something you might enjoy, please give this video a like. Please consider subscribing to the channel as well. We do cover the Arsenal men and the Arsenal women, plus stuff like this, looking back at some moments from the history of this great club. So this is the top 5 best and worst FA Cup third round matches. We're going to start with the top 5 worst. So in 1948 then, Arsenal were drawn at home to second division Bradford Park Avenue. At the time we were top of Division 1 and we would go on to win the league championship that season, losing just 6 games. But Bradford Park Avenue, of course, no longer a league club. They arrived at Highbury and went away with a 1-0 victory. It was a big shock at the time. It was a first half goal from Billy Elliott. No, not the dancing Billy Elliott, but this was the footballer who played for Bradford Park Avenue. Despite a lot of pressure in the second half, Arsenal couldn't get back into the game and we crashed out to Division 2 Bradford Park Avenue. Of course, it's never nice losing to that lot, is it, at any time? But in 1982, they were the FA Cup holders and we were looking to take that trophy away from them. But it was a very disappointing Arsenal performance. It was a goal from Garth Crooks following a mistake from Pat Jennings that gave Tottenham a 1-0 victory at White Hart Lane in the third round in 1982. And they did go on to retain the cup. So very, very disappointing result that was for Arsenal. Tottenham 1, Arsenal 0 from 1982. Now, this one was another really big shock. 1958, Arsenal were drawn away to Division 3 Southside Northampton Town. Again, Arsenal were expected to go through, but it proved to be one of the biggest shocks of that season's FA Cup. Bobby Tebbett put Northampton ahead in the first half. Although Danny Clapton did bring Arsenal level, it was 2 goals in the second half for Northampton from Harry Hawkins and Ken Leake that gave the Division 3 side a victory and sent Arsenal crashing out of the third round in 1958. So 1991 then, one of the biggest shocks in recent FA Cup history. Of course, Wrexham, who had finished bottom of Division 4 the season before against Arsenal, had been the league champions. Looked like we were going to go through. We led 1-0 at half-time, a goal from Alan Smith, and that was the way it stayed until the final 10 minutes. Then it was a free kick from Mickey Thomas, the former Manchester United player, brought Wrexham level, and then in the last couple of minutes it was Steve Hawkins scored to put Wrexham ahead. Arsenal did have a goal disallowed very, very late on from Jimmy Carter. Still, we're not sure why that was disallowed all these years later, but it was, and Arsenal crashed out to Division 4 Wrexham, one of the biggest ever FA Cup shocks. Wrexham 2, Arsenal 1 from 1991. But without doubt, the biggest FA Cup shock in Arsenal's history, possibly one of the biggest ever, was from 1933. League champions Arsenal drawn away at Division 3 Northside Walsall, and it finished Walsall 2, Arsenal 0. Arsenal made a few changes for this game due to the fact that there was an illness in the camp and also that we were expected to win. We had a lot of chances, didn't take any of them. And in the second half, it was 2 goals in quick succession from Gilbert Allsop and a penalty from Bill Shepherd sent Walsall through. It turned out to be the very last FA Cup match that Herbert Chapman ever took charge of. Unfortunately, he had died before the third round the following year. But probably the biggest shock in our FA Cup history from 1933, Walsall 2, Arsenal 0. So now we'll go on to the top 5 best FA Cup third round moments from Arsenal's history, and we're going to start here. So 1932, then Arsenal were drawn against non-league Darwin at Highbury, and it turned out to be an 11-0 victory for Arsenal, our second ever highest victory in the club's history and our biggest ever FA Cup win. Cliff Bastin scored 4 goals that day. David Jack also got a hat-trick. The other goals were scored from Joe Hume and Jack Lambert, who both scored 2 apiece. So one of the biggest ever victories in Arsenal's history. Arsenal 11, Darwin 0, one of our best ever FA Cup results. Now, of course, coming a little bit more up to date then, 1986, a trip up north to Grimsby from Division 3. It turned out to be a very, very exciting game. This Arsenal actually went behind early on, the goal from Gary Lund, but we soon turned it round. Graham Ricks equalised, and Charlie Nicholas scored a hat-trick in this game. It was a season where he ended up finishing top scorer as well, but he got a great hat-trick, 2 fantastic free kicks and a deflected effort put us through, even though Grimsby made it close for us, actually. They pulled 2 goals back. It was Mick Lyons and also a late penalty from Andy Peake, but Arsenal held on. It finished Grimsby 3, Arsenal 4. A really exciting third round tie from 1986. So number 3 on our list then, a trip to Anfield in 2007. Looked like a very difficult tie when the draw was made, but we went to Anfield and came away with a really impressive 3-1 victory. Thomas Rosicky it was, with 2 goals in the first half, put us in control. Dirk Kuyt pulled one back for Liverpool, but of course the game will always be remembered for that 3rd goal from Thierry Henry in the second half. He outpaced Jamie Carragher, left him on the floor, ran through and then slotted home to make it 3-1. A really impressive 3rd round victory that was from 2007. Liverpool 1, Arsenal 3. Of course, if we're going to include a 3rd round defeat against Tottenham, we have to include a victory in the best moments. This was from 2014 at the Emirates. Really good Arsenal performance it was. Goals from Santi Cazorla and Thomas Rosicky gave us a 2-0 victory. And of course, this was the game when Theo Walcott suffered a terrible knee injury in the second half. But as he was stretchered off in front of the Tottenham fans, he reminded them of the score. A really memorable 3rd round tie this was from 2014. Made even more memorable by the fact that we went on to win the Cup that year. But we did beat Tottenham in the 3rd round 2-0 at the Emirates. Of course, this has to go down as the greatest ever FA Cup 3rd round memory for all us Arsenal fans. 2012 it was. Leeds United visit the Emirates, but that's irrelevant. Well, the only thing that mattered on that night was the return of the King. Thierry Henry, of course, back at Arsenal on loan from LA Galaxy. He came back to play a few games, didn't he, early in 2012. The first one of those was this FA Cup tie against Leeds. He came on in the second half with a score at 0-0, and of course, he had to score the winning goal, didn't he? A brilliant, brilliant goal it was. Alex Song's through ball, a lovely touch from Henry, and a finish across the goalkeeper into the far corner. The Emirates went mental. The return of the King, the best Arsenal 3rd round memory from 2012. Arsenal 1, Leeds United 0. So that there then was our top 5 best and worst FA Cup 3rd round memories, of course, ahead of tomorrow night's trip to Oxford United. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a like. And if you do like what we do here on the channel, please consider subscribing as well. It does help the channel to grow. We cover the men and the women, and plus, of course, the history of this club. Coming up then tomorrow night, of course, it is the watch along of the FA Cup 3rd round tie at Oxford. Kickoff is at 8 p.m, so we'll be live at about 7:45 to go through the team news, give you a bit of build up, and of course full match commentary in your comments as always. On Tuesday we've got the Arsenal review as well, looking back at the recent games against Newcastle, this FA Cup tie against Oxford, and of course looking ahead to the big North London derby coming up, of course, next weekend. So that's all coming up on Tuesday. On Wednesday, Melvin's here with Highbury Matters. He's moving into the mid-1980s. That's going to be a really good show, so please join in for that. On Thursday, 8 o'clock, it is the Arsenal Social Extra with Adam and Steve. Always a fun show, so please join them for that. Before, of course, we're moving into a really, really big weekend for Arsenal. We've got the Arsenal women playing Chelsea at the Emirates, and then the big North London derby away at Tottenham. Both of those games on Sunday. Both of them will be covered here on Over and Over and Over Again. This has been the top 5 best and worst FA Cup 3rd round memories for Arsenal. Please give it a like, and I will see you on the next one.